Okay, waiting another 2 or 3 minutes for folks to come in. Nice. Wait. One. Okay, yeah. Okay. That won't work. Okay. One. Am I still getting to the back of the room? Can you hear me in the back of the room? Or not? Hear me? Hear me not? Okay. Okay.
Hello. Test. No, test. Hello. Test.
Okay then. Cool. So it seems like the raffle is over, huh? Anybody want something here? None of you? Yeah. Cool. Nice.
Somebody's
So,
skivvies hit me in the head the other day.
what?
Yeah, somebody in the VO was throwing their stuff off the top of the
What was that?
landed right on my head.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea. And by the way, you can keep it. Okay. So Jenny, is it? Right. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So we'll start now. We're about 5 minutes late already. And we have some slides to go, some scenarios to walk you through. And so this is the session 2012. The end is near, or is it? Talking about the bus of SBS being discontinued as a product. So, but we have a new product, building business on Server 2012 Essentials. And actually, there's a couple of pictures of photographs here in the slide deck. I've taken them all by myself on my vacational trips through the US and Europe lately with a couple of folks in here actually who are just walking in from Finland. And actually, this one, does anybody know here? Testing your touristy activities here in Las Vegas. Where is that? What? Where is Ukraine? No. Actually, this is Hoover Dam. It's because the Hoover Dam has also been built or has been not manufactured, but been used as a potential fallout shelter. So once I took a year, like in 2009 or so, we took a tour in there, and there was this sticker on that black huge pipe stating fallout shelter. I thought it would be a good fit to the session title, is it? Okay, so your pilots for today, that would be me and Eamon. Eamon is my senior system engineer in the company that I own, Trinity Computer, and he's going to help me today on this session because he has done a couple of these 2012 Essentials migrations and customer scenarios that we are going to talk about. And so it's going to be his first session in English, so bear with him and be nice. So, but we'll get through it and make it happen. So then he's also the technical guy in our company, and he's also the support engineer for troubleshooting and consulting services for our partners. So we are kind of having a business where mostly German partners call us and ask for help and support something like the way Amy is doing that with her company. And so we are not, but we are just not doing that so open and so widely as Amy is doing that. But people seem to find us anyways and ask for help. So that's kind of what we do. Oh, sorry. Yeah, by myself. Anybody in the room that doesn't know me? Great question. Who knows me? Yeah, so, okay, so what's the difference there? Oh, okay. And so my name is Oliver Sommer. I've done a couple of presentations during the last couple of SMB Nations, except for last year. And there's there's a couple of things I've been doing, and I got to work for Microsoft lately as a premier field engineer on more enterprises stuff. Worked for airlines and stuff, but I'm still most valuable professional MVP for a small business server, and our company, Trinity Computer, mainly focuses on SMB customers, and we live and breathe SBS all over, and we are having SBS customers and EBS customers actually also still, so up to the 200 user space. That's the focus of our customer. The vast majority of our customers is well below 20 users per customer. So if you want to find us, there's the email addresses, and I believe the slide deck is going to be online later and on video. Question already?
You were an EBS guy before this, weren't you?
Yes, yeah, I've been EBS MVP for the time that product existed, yes. So I'm kind of used already to discontinued products. And I know how that works, and you know what, I'm not kind of, and I heard a lot of buzz and a lot of noise and people being not too happy about SBS being discontinued, but you know what, I'm not really, because we're going to talk into that session in here why that is. And before we go there, this session is about our hands-on experience with the new product, Server 2012 Essentials. And we were, during that customer scenarios that we were driving, using a couple of these products, and most of them were dogfooding, kind of that's actually the term Microsoft is using for using better products in production. And what we are kind of doing the same thing with that Microsoft products, because we want to be ahead of knowledge, and we want to be using the stuff that our customers would like to use potentially in the next couple of months or potentially years. So in our company, we always try to use the latest and newest product. And even if Microsoft doesn't support that in production for, like, let's say for Exchange 15, they clearly state don't use that in production. Guess what? We are going to go that road anyways pretty soon. And so another part of that is the Technology Adoption Program, shortly named TAP, where you could use those beta products, pre-release products in production with the support of Microsoft. And some of those scenarios that we are talking about today were actually part of the TAP program. And so we installed the pre-production products on those customer sites with support from Microsoft, which is very helpful if something goes wrong and something doesn't work like it should be, because whom would you call if something goes wrong with a pre-production product? Nobody else but the vendor and the manufacturer knows how to fix it, because nobody else has ever seen that before. Okay, so basic point here, and the takeout for you of this session should be crawl through the dirt early and yourself. That's my point. You know, go ahead, and if you have not used any of those products by now, go ahead and use them. And for the future, if there's any product that's new anywhere and you were using former versions, why not go ahead and use the beta product or look at it in first place, and if it's good enough, if you feel kind of comfortable enough with it, use it in production in your environment to get early knowledge and to be ahead of the crowd. Because that's part of the business, right? You need to differentiate yourself from the guy next door. And one way to do that is just to be ahead of knowledge with him. So, and this car is basically, this is the rental car that we drove the last time being here in Las Vegas. And actually, you know what? We got a little bored of the US highways and interstates. So we took it to those unpaved roads and to the four-wheel drive roads. And actually, most of the mud on here is Grand Canyon mud. And so, yeah, that's been the first time where we decided to wash a car before we gave it back to the rental. And actually, we were first-time users of that car. Never tell Hertz, please. Okay, so what are your options with SMB customers and Microsoft operating systems or suites of products, aka SBS, right? We're used to that. So option number one right now still is SBS 2011 is still around. So you could go ahead and sell a customer SBS 2011 as you have been used to for all over the years with the 2011 suite and former suites, which would include the server, Exchange, SharePoint, remote web access, the dashboard, simplified wizards, and all that stuff. And you would be able to do so till December 2013. Including premium add-on, Server 2008-02, and the SQL included in the premium add-on. And you would also be able to buy the cards and stuff, but you would not be able to buy open license or software assurance on top of that, unfortunately. But, you know, if a customer decides for that, SBS might be still good, and if they want on-premise Exchange, SBS 2011 is still the cheapest way to go there. Okay, so the question I always get, like in the last 3 to 4 months, is would there be a chance of SBS coming back? And my take would be, you know what, I have not seen so many products that Microsoft discontinued that came back by now. Although I wish they would have had some products back, like EBS, or, and yeah, thank you. My take, and you know, I'm going to be possibly the dream lifter on you today. It's not going to happen, right? SBS is not coming back. But I think there's no need for it. The question is, how's the road ahead? Well, some people say the road ahead looks pretty cloudy, and I think that's true. You know, right? We hear cloud all over. It's cloud this, cloud that, cloud that. Private cloud, public cloud, hosted cloud, whatever the name is, name it cloud, right? It seems to me almost as if your product that you release new has to be cloud in there, in the name. If it's not named cloud, it's not a new product. So what is that with combined with Server 2012 Essentials? First here we see what's included in Server 2012 Essentials. First point on that is Microsoft decided to have Server 2012 Essentials not being a suite of products anymore, because it doesn't include Exchange nor SharePoint anymore, but to integrate it as an addition for Server, the same or right next to the standard and data center edition. So all the problems that we might have had before, that SBS is, you know what, this is not Server, and you know, this is just some SBS. We don't test our products against that. Have you ever heard that from a line of business application vendor? Probably, right? So I hope that this is kind of going away with this, because the Essentials product is in addition right now. It's one of 3 editions that Server 2012 comes with. And there's, license-wise, there's some interesting points because of this, and we're going to talk about that later, because you get downgrade rights from the upper products. So it's still, if you are used to the name SBS Essentials, SBS 2011 Essentials, you probably know already all the key features of Server 2012 Essentials. Of course, it still includes client backup, the stuff that we all love from Home Server 2003, starting with it. And it's still block-based and on a daily automated basis, and it can even be done remotely. I've tested remote backups to our data center location, where we have rented a rack space in a co-location data center, where we drive our hosted environments. And I tested a remote backup of a virtual Windows 8 machine to that data center, or to an SBS, no, sorry, not SBS, to a 2012 Essentials server that we host in that data center, and try to do a backup from our company location to the hosted location using a standard DSL line with just 1 megabit upstream. And that backup, that worked pretty well. Well, it took like 3 hours for the initial backup, which is not the initial backup that everything includes, because I was using a little trick to not have to have the whole Windows 8, 5 or 6 or whatever gigabytes that is being uploaded to the server. To not have to do that, I installed a Windows 8 virtual machine in the data center in the same virtual LAN the Essentials virtual machine lives in, and did an initial backup of that virtual machine to the Essentials box inside the data center. So it was local speed for the first Windows 8 machine that got backed up to the hosted Essentials box, and then and with that, the Essentials box knew already all the bits and bytes of Windows 8 standard installation, and so with that, I only had to upload the differentiations from my local virtual machine to that hosted virtual Windows 8 machine to the server. So that backup was way smaller than the whole 6 or 7 gigabytes that Windows 8 takes in initial installation. Still though, it took 3 hours on that 1 megabit upstream, but I did it during the business hours, and I did it on purpose to see if anybody would complain about internet speed not being, too good anymore. And I didn't tell anyone, and was just waiting if, someone's kicking in. And surprisingly, nobody was like complaining about internet speed, which happens pretty soon. If somebody in our office does a couple of huge downloads from MSDN or so, that the others complain about lack of download speed and stuff. And so after an hour, I asked people, what, is internet working for you? It's like, yeah, everything's fine, okay, so this is a valid option. And following backups just take a couple of minutes if you don't change so much on that computer. Okay, so what do we have next? Cloud. So is it all into the cloud? Maybe not. But Microsoft, and that's my take, I'm not speaking for Microsoft, it's my take, Microsoft will primarily promote Essentials 2012 with Office 365, which is a fair take. Office 365 is, for me, potentially the cheapest way for customers to get Exchange-like email experiences to their clients, right? And there's an add-in for Essentials 2012, as probably all of you know already, that adds in Office 365 management consoles, management features to the Essentials dashboard. But there are other options. You still can have Exchange on premises with Essentials 2012. You could install Exchange 2010 on a second server or a second virtual machine next to the Essentials 2012 server and install Exchange 2010 on there. The only point about that is because Exchange 2010 doesn't run on server 2012 right now, you need to install 2008 R2 server and Exchange 2010 on top of that, which is one of the scenarios that we are showcasing to you later. Another option, and that is possibly not so widely used by now, but I would really encourage you to think about it and possibly try it, that's hosted Exchange. Hosted Exchange means that you as a partner host your own Exchange environment for your customers. And so that means you run an Exchange server. And for example, we do that for customers with a single Exchange server virtual machine in our data center, co-location data center. We run a single virtual machine that has Exchange in hosted mode installed on there. and we drive, and we just tried to look it up. We drive about 40 to 60 customers. Well, actually accounts, 30 customers with up to I don't know. We guessed like 40 to 60 mailboxes on there just. So with 40 to 60 mailboxes, that's not a lot, right? But that gives you potentially enough credit and enough income to actually host and maintain that server potentially. Not if you compete with the price point of Office 365. And because of that, we decided to actually have a price point that is about 3 times more expensive than Office 365. And we only include Exchange. We don't have SharePoint, we don't have Link, we don't have whatever is else in Office 365. We only have Exchange in hosted mode, and still, still that costs 3 times as more as Office 365, which, you know what, every single customer that decided for us today didn't have a problem with. For whatever reason, most customers that we have, well, the customers that we have hosted on our Exchange solution don't have an issue with the price point. Okay, and there's actually a way to get an integration to the Essentials dashboard for your own hosted Exchange solution, kind of the same way as Office 365 is implemented with an add-in to Exchange to Essentials 2012. Or in other words, you could write your own add-in for your hosted Exchange solution to Essentials 2012. Okay. So, and then there's another option. I was already talking about hosting stuff, and another option for Essentials is actually to host the Essentials 2012 server in a data center, in a remote data center location. So thinking from a customer side is, it would be like that you don't have a server in your office on-premise, you would not have a server on-premise, but you would have a virtual machine running at some hoster's local data center, which could be your data center as a partner, and you just rent this virtual machine on a monthly basis from that hoster and drive all your Essentials features on there, which include client backup. Potentially, I already told you that I was doing client backup to one of those hosted servers that we test run right now, and it's been good. But as from a hoster side, you might not want customers to actually being able to do client backup to your hosting location, because client backup could potentially, you know, be pretty big in capacity on your hard disk, and you might not want. Whoops. Yeah, I should. Could you take care of that? Yeah. Welcome to the German lecture. That one said battery is low. So you might not want to have clients being enabled to back up to your hosting locations. So as a hoster, during installation of Essentials 2012, you can decide in an answer file if you want to generally disable client backup on this virtual machine. And there's a couple of other things you could decide in the answer files, and to actually unattend install those virtual machines. And I put in the URL to that hosted this Essentials article on TechNet right here. If you're interested in that, you can go there and use that. So, but how would the customers access this virtual machine running in a remote data center? It's pretty easy. The same way as they would access an on-premise server if they are off-site, if they are on the road somewhere. They would use VPN. VPN comes with Essentials in a new way that it just uses port 443, so it is quite usable, even if you are having an internet connection that normally would not allow VPN connections on PPTP or stuff, right? That's most of the times that's an issue in hotels and so. And the other option would be direct access. With either Windows 7 Ultimate or Enterprise or Windows 8 Enterprise, you would be able to direct access the server. And there's another cool feature set with Server 2012 that allows you to more easily introduce direct access to a customer location. And we're going to have a slide on that later. OK, so and you could also integrate the email solutions to your hosted Essentials box the same way as you would integrate them to a non-hosted, to an on-premise Essentials. That would be an add-in for Office 365. So you could host the server on your virtual data center or on your data center as a virtual machine, but still the customer could have Office 365 from Microsoft if you prefer that way. Or you could on-premise an exchange next to the virtual machine, to the hosted Essentials, meaning you can have a single Exchange server virtual machine in your hosted location for the customer. And that might be useful if the customer, for whatever reason, needs its own Exchange server, and there are customers out there that are kind of dependent on Exchange add-on tools, and that they didn't want to not use anymore, and so they need to have their own Exchange server. And if they want to do that hosted, you can still do that and sell them 2 virtual machines and have their own Exchange server running next to the Essentials box. And again, you could be the hoster that runs an Exchange server for all of your customers and just rent the mailboxes on a monthly basis. So what is your potential in there? It's already said. You could be the reseller of Microsoft's cloud offers. Well, surprise, surprise. You already know that, hopefully. But you could also be, as I said, the hoster. So if you have never thought about that by now, it's not too hard. Nobody expects you, if you explain to a customer, you know what, you don't want to have a server hardware, you don't want to buy a server hardware on your own anymore, that's fine. I can buy a server hardware and share it with a couple of customers, and that's going to be potentially way cheaper than if you buy your own. But you know what, even if you don't go to a professional data center, the customer didn't have the experience of a professional data center availability. They had the experience by now, potentially, of their own crappy internet line that is not any better than yours. So we thought about, before we went to the data center, we thought about actually having the hosted environment being in place in our office behind our crappy basic business internet line for the customers. And you know what? According to speed tests and according to traffic tests that we did in our environment, as of today, none of the customers would ever have recognized that. Because although we have like a multi-gigabit something connection in the data center, the overall workload that downstreams from our servers is just a couple of megabits per second, right? Okay. And if you don't want to be a hoster just on your own, you could partner with other hosters or with other folks here in the room, and you know what? Make a new company for hosting all of your customers all together on one hosted solution. Why not? Actually, that's what I did with a couple of business friends of mine back in Germany with our hosted solution. So as I just said, hosting Essentials is as simple as running Essentials off a physical box or as a virtual machine. And you know what? If you don't want to have that as a virtual machine, as I said here, why not run a hosted Essentials box for a customer on its own hardware, on a microserver, or whatever? Nobody says that you need to provide uptime of 99.59% If you speak that out to the customer clearly, that's good, all right? And what's easier to replace on the server hardware side as a microserver, right? If that breaks, kick it out of the door, place a new one in there, and reload the backup. Okay. So is that already too many options? Are you lost? And actually, this is a picture. I didn't make that up. This is an original picture at Newark Airport with a sign up there, "Are you lost?" And I drove into that road, kind of looking for a what's that, cell phone lot, a parking lot for waiting for people to pick up. So I drove up the interstate to that maintenance road that is only meant for airport employees to be used. So quite sure, if you were there as a non-airport employee, you are lost. But I was expecting some information down here saying where you need to go, but nothing. I was standing there like for 10 minutes looking around because I had to wait anyways, but just the sign, are you lost? Yeah, how do you know? So don't become this squirrel. Okay, so listen up, there's more. There's licensing downgrade rights to essentials from any Windows Server 2012. And now here comes the cool part. Of course, what you could do is, if a customer already decided to buy Windows Server 2012 standard or data center, and you know what, they didn't listen to you, they bought that, and they already have that. You would think in former days with SBS, you would have to tell them, you know what, you have to buy SBS again. Not with 2012, because what you could do, because it is not a suite anymore, it is an addition, and additions have downgrade rights. So with any Server 2012 standard or data center, you have downgrade rights to essentials. And if they bought that, you could actually have a scenario, and that's my cat actually. Somebody being at Jay Leno's last night, he was talking about dogs being more man-aware, more for man. I totally disagree with him. So Essentials 2012 can be part of a solution for customers of 25 to 75, what does that say, PCs. And I stole that slide from David, thank you, because it talks about it pretty well. So by now you might have heard Essentials is good for up to 25 people, right? Does that sound right? Yeah. With that scenario, if you use the downgrade rights, you can go up to 75. Woohoo! Back to SBS space again, right? So what you would do is have a server 2012 standard, for example, running as a Hyper-V box. And on that Hyper-V box license with a Server 2012 standard license, you could have a virtual instance of Windows Server 2012 Essentials. Right? Because Server 2012 standard, for example, allows you to run 2 virtual instances for free. Correct? So one of those virtual instances, because of the downgrade rights you are allowed to use, because it's an addition, not a suite anymore, could be Server 2012 Essentials. And the other one, any other server you need, like a Exchange server. And here we go. You have your SBS suite again, just the way it unfortunately needs to be today, right? So, but it also could be SharePoint or SQL or remote desktop services. So you could have almost the same setup for almost the same setup that are used from SBS, everything on a single box with that 2012 downgrade rights plus Exchange, right? You need to buy the additional Exchange suite. Question again.
You're saying use a 2012 standard license, take advantage of 2 virtual instances, virtualize a 2012 server, and then take advantage of the downgrade rights to virtualize a 2012 Essentials as your second instance. Yep. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not sure about that, but maybe, well, I see. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, David.
And I would also add that if you do want to run Exchange Server 2010 on that second instance, your downgrade rights will also let you run 2008 R2.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, but if you want to run Exchange as of today, that would be Exchange 2010, which would not run, as I stated before, on Server 2012. So you could use the downgrade rights on the second instance too and go back to 2008 R2. Because downgrade rights not only allow you to go back into the editions, but also go down to the last 2 former versions, right? So basically 2008 R2 and 2008. So that could totally be your Exchange server. Okay?
How do you get over the 25 user limit of Essentials?
Good point. There's more.
They didn't hear the question.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So how do you get over the 25 user limit? And I was hoping that it would be on the next slide. So how do you get over? Was the question? over the 25 user limit of essentials to get to 25 to 75 users. Hang on for 2 or 3 more slides. It'll be in there. OK, so anywhere access, how is that? Direct access topology in server 2012 allows you to run direct access on a single server, actually on the same server as everything else is running. You don't need to have what is that? You don't need to have a server that only does direct access, as it was recommended before. You can have direct access on your essentials box. If it's virtualized or physical or whatever, you can have, or hosted or what else, any flavor of Essentials 2012 can have direct access on a single NIC, single network card. And you don't even need a fixed IP address at all anymore. Right? Direct access prior to Server 2012 needed to have 2 public consecutive IP addresses bound to the external NIC of a server. That's not the case anymore. The server doesn't need to have any public IP address. Right? They're purely simplified, dramatically simplified direct access deployments. So you could have a server behind a net, aka router, DSL, cable, whatever, standard setup for SMB, right? Every SMB has some router in there and a private subnet behind that, which is perfect for direct access now. You could have that. Not even one single fixed IP address is there. Still, though, there is good points of having a traditional direct access infrastructure in place, but that'll still work. Right? And there, if you want to hear about the technical limitations of that more in detail, come to speak with us later. Is there any party tonight? OK. No. So, and anywhere access, the second option is SSTP VPN, which is, I believe, also new with Server 2012. And it uses port 443. So there's no need anymore for that port 1723 or whatever IPsec to be opened. You could access your server using VPN. Even if you don't have direct access in place, you could access your server using a VPN over standard SSL ports, over the standard SSL ports. So that would basically work wherever you are and have an internet connection that allows you to browse. OK? One more?
Oliver, question.
Sorry.
Is that direct access only going to work with Windows 8, or will it be backwards compatible with
It
Windows 7?
will work backwards to Windows 7. Yes. Actually, I have not tried that with Windows 7, but the documentation says it will work with Windows 7, and the wizard to configure it allows you to set up configuration for Windows 7 with a check mark. Okay. So one more. InPlace license transition. We had that kind of. This is kind of the opposite way around, what we were talking about earlier. And this is, and I'm sorry, the direct access slide before that was kind of out of order. So InPlace license transition is the way that you would have a Server 2012 Essentials box, and you would want to grow beyond the 25 user limit. You could do that with a process that David just introduced to me as InPlace license transition. This is a private term we kind of use, but you're free to use it. And that makes this process, InPlace license transition, makes your Server 2012 Essentials in place, so you don't have to reinstall or migrate anything. It in-place upgrades, in-place transitions, actually, your Essentials server to a 2012 standard box. And you got to keep the Essentials features like client backup, RWA, dashboard, for up to 75 users and computers. So I know the next question would be, so Ollie, how do you do that? And I got this TechNet article out here, which is not this one, but that one that talks about something, 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 and has this one command line in here. This is the command line. You might be already, you might have seen DISM already. It's, that's a tool where you can command line install features and roles and stuff and upgrade from any server edition to any higher server edition. So you could make a standard edition and enterprise edition with that tool. And this is the line that actually makes an essentials box a standard server and accept the EULA. The only thing you need to punch in here is a product key you need to have for your standard server, right? And you punch that in, and then the server restarts, and you would have a standard server without a user limit, but with the features of essentials. There's a question in the back.
What's that article number for us in the back?
Sure. The question was, what's that article number? And what is that? 247582. And I would use the magnifier. But don't know how to use that on here. Okay. So the only downside on that is, of course, you would have to buy CALs because Essentials doesn't include CALs, or it includes like 25 CALs, but in the box already, right? You don't have to buy CALs to get to that 25 user limit. If you go to standard, though, you need to buy CALs for every single user you have, even below 25, right? Okay. So that's the licensing example again. So that would allow you then to actually have an essentials box. And if you outgrow that scenario, you would have kind of the same scenario that we went through before, just coming from an essentials box and having that essentials box as a virtual machine later potentially, or not. If the customer still just doesn't need more than this one server, they could still stay on just one box and have this box running Server 2012 standard, but with essentials features. Okay? So finally, customer scenarios. That's Eamon's part. Yeah. So question again. Whew.
I have to buy 75 cows to get to the 75?
Correct. Yeah. Yes. So you are in standard land.
I already paid 25.
No, you don't. You got 25 for free.
No, I know, but I bought the essentials which included 25.
Which is cheaper than standard. Which is cheaper than standard. Right.
In essentials. So in
True.
essence, that price is buried in essentials.
Yeah, which is cheaper than standard. So what? That's what I'm saying. Buy standard in first place, and you would have essentials and the use of that.
What Microsoft is saying is that Essentials has 0 cows. It does not license by the cow model. It is licensed as a server, and you can use up to 25 on it. But there are no cows.
Right.
Once you get to that Essential to the standard, now you're in a cow model. You change from one licensing structure to another. And now
I should have given you the mic. I can repeat that. So basically, he's saying that Microsoft doesn't say that there's CALs included with Essentials, but you have the right to connect to that server with up to 25 users, whatever the exact term is. It's somewhere in the EULA, and I'm not here to speak, for Microsoft lawyers or anything. Okay. So customer scenario number 1, which would be the kind of the most simplest one, Essentials and Office 365. Eamon?
Yeah. We want to give you a short kind of impression what we do for our customers. And with Essentials 2012, this is a customer, is a small plumbing company. They use 5 PCs, mixing OSs, using pop mail, have an XP machine using us file and print services. And on this machine, they have a file-based line of business application running for their business. So we have to talk to them several times. We want to bring them to a server, but the most of this, what we want to give them is them too expensive. So we decided to bring them to Essentials on a HP microserver, which is quite cheap. And give them the ability to use all the services they can have. We bring them Active Directory, DHCP, DNS, file and print, and client backup. That's all that they need on the box.
Yeah, they were quite non-technically, they were technically challenged, right? They were just using it. The only thing they want to use is their line of business application that is file-based and nothing fancy. You just copy it over to another server and it starts to work again. So that's all they wanted. So we brought in just a server to get rid of their XP-based file and print server, right? Who has seen that before, XP-based file and print server? It's like, ew. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And also we bring all the machines to Windows XP, Windows 8 Pro, Windows XP, sorry, to have an, how called it in English?
Yeah, well, actually, to get rid of their XP machines and
Yeah.
Vista and Windows 7 to get a streamlined setup that is all the same, and to get them on the same page all over
Yeah.
and stuff.
And they want to have a cheap solution, so we decided them to bring to Office 365. What we have to do.
Yeah, that's part of the scenario that we didn't do right until today, because, as I said, they're kind of technically challenged, and so we decided to not overload them with new features and stuff, because they were like, you know what, I'm fine with my email today. It's like, I don't need any more, right? And it was like, yeah, you do, but you don't know yet. It's like, right? I believe you have seen that before. So we decided, okay, so hang on, we're just bringing in a new server, and we continue to use your POP3 shit. Oh, that's recorded, right? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, sorry. So we decided to not have Office 365 configured by now, so we just brought them in the new computers and decided to have that later. And you know what, just last week I sat down with the business owner, he said, like, you did a pretty good job on our servers. We were kind of afraid of you messing around with all of our servers because former IT guys that have been here caused us downtimes of like a week or so. It was like, really? You're a 5-people shop. How did you do that? So, and they agreed to move to Office 365 and just go ahead. And they're starting to trust us, right? Okay, so next we are kind of timely challenged. Next scenario is number 2.
Next scenario, this is also small company. This are SAP consultants. They are traveling all around in Germany, so they have an office, but they are not so often in this office. They're using also 5 Windows 7 PCs, POP email, and they have a 2003 file server without a domain, using only for files, and I think a line of business application, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, actually, they're using, this is kind of a multi-purpose server. They're using that for a database, for a web shop that they drive for another company of theirs. So we decided to not touch the 2003 server, but leave it in place for the website stuff that they have and build the solution around that.
Then we take also a Windows server, an HP microserver, and bring all the stuff over the server. Bring the machines in an Active Directory with all the stuff you see in the scenario before. But here we take direct access for them to use it so that they can access their files all over in the world.
Yeah, that's kind of vital for them because as SAP consultants, they're just classical road warriors. They are more, well, actually when they're in their office, they don't earn any money, so it's no point for them being in the office. But they still need access, and they did that before that. They did that using traditional VPN, and those folks live in hotels. And unfortunately enough, the more expensive hotels that those guys usually live in, they don't allow VPN, right? And so that's been a hard point for them up until now, where we brought in that 443 VPN and direct access.
Yeah, and in this case, in this company, they decided to go to our hosted exchange with all their mailboxes. So we take all the stuff on our hosted exchange, and it works fine. They don't need SharePoint and this stuff, so it's a hosted exchange for them, the best choice. And
okay, number 3.
This is a company, this is a little bit bigger.
Yeah, that's kind of a very exciting essentials showcase. I'm kind of amazed that that is actually possible with essentials. And go ahead, Eamon. He's going to
Yeah.
tell you about it.
I think I don't take to tell what they're doing. I straight ahead going. They are using SBS 2000. They are using SBS 2003 with 27 client machines. They have also an additional test server for their environment to develop their own software, whatever. And they have a Windows 7 machine using for the UPS WorldShip server software, which doesn't run on a real server. So the server is old. They have to change their hardware. So we decided to go to Essentials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, is actually a long-term customer for us. We installed SBS 2003 way back, and their server is now 5 or even more. It's almost 5 years old. And so the warranty that we bought on there for 5 years is about to run out. And this customer decided, okay, so because we already had like 5 or 6 hard drives failing on the server, we don't want to take the risk of the running a server without warranty. And so move us along to the next step. Right now, although we still have warranty on the old server, we don't care, go ahead. And what we did is on those 24, and I changed the number because they have 24 accounts on there,
okay.
But they are growing beyond that. They already told us, you know what, in 2 or 3 months, we are going to hire 3 to 4 people, so we would be above the 25 user limit that Essentials allows us. And we are planning to move all their clients to Windows 8 for direct access pretty soon, because some of those 27 users are pretty soon are using laptops and roaming all over the world. They have a subsidiary in Latin America. They have a partnership in the US, and in Asia, I believe they also have something, because of what they do is what you might have seen before is access control and identity stuff for government, or for example, you might have seen at Formula One those VIP passes that the drivers and the team members used to get access to to the pit lane, yeah, and the backstage area. I was about to say for Formula One, they actually do that. Those cards for Formula One. So I just found that out when I was talking to them about that product, because I saw a couple of VIP passes for Formula One on their wall. Quite amazing. So yeah, we brought them over to 2012 Essentials and did that InPlace license transition on their server. Go ahead.
And yeah, then we take a second server with Windows Server 2012 Data Center on a high performance HP machine to use.
Yes, it's a DL380 Gen 8 actually, so one of those nice boxes that really is good for virtualization.
And on that we implement several servers, Exchange, also TMG.
Yeah, so that is Exchange means it's an on-premise Exchange server that they preferred for going that route, and it's TMG, so Threat Management Gateway, the Microsoft Firewall that unfortunately enough also got discontinued. But they were asking us for access control to the internet because they had trouble with people of their company accessing the internet, and they have a company rule of not being allowed to use eBay except for the lunch hours, right? And so you could not do that with a traditional router, most likely. So we decided to get them TMG, which was what they were using on the SBS 2003 with ISA 2004, right?
Yeah, and we decided to implement a secondary file and print server with DFS on it, and a secondary Active Directory server to have 2 of them with
Replication?
with replicated DHCP and.
All right, yeah, the DHCP feature, that's a new feature of 2012. You can actually replicate the scopes between 2 DHCP servers and not have that 80-20 or whatever 50-50 something strange setup of redundant DHCP servers. You could do that, and they replicate the leases and all that among each other and have the same setup and the same scope and same leases.
So we do that so that we can reboot every machine without losing the DHCP or Active Directory or the file services, because we are using DFS.
Right, and I'm not sure if we talked about that, but the Essentials box at this customer, although they have a huge ass server that runs virtualization on it, the Essentials box is an AHP microserver. Because all we need here is file storage and pretty much also a large storage for the client backup, right? 25 client computers backing up like for a year or so, that's some storage. So we decided to have a microserver in here with a couple of 2 terabyte hard drives, and that would potentially give us enough space for the file storage. They are having like 300 gigabytes file storage, and whatever their 25 PC are gonna be, I'm pretty confident that's not gonna be 2 terabytes pretty soon.
Yeah, and we also implemented MDT to make the Windows 8 rollout as soon as possible.
Who knows what MDT stands for? It's like Microsoft Deployment Toolkit. That's what we implement for some small business customers already, that allows you to PXE boot a client machine and install the client OS, Windows 7, Windows 8, whatever, over the network, streamed down from the deployment server. So it's client deployment over the network. And even though that sounds very enterprise-ish, you'd be amazed how easy that is using the MDT, the Microsoft Deployment Toolkit. And if you want to know more about that, look for Michael Nystrom's sessions at TechEd. Yeah, there are recordings available, TechEd recordings all over.
He has a book as well.
He has a book as well.
Yeah, it's a really good book. Really good book.
Yeah.
So I want to say, if you have to deploy more than 6 PCs with Windows 8, use MDT. It makes it so much easier to do the deployment instead of running by your shoes.
If not only the original deployment, then if you ever have to redeploy one of those clients, that's way easier than installing on hand. Oh, the author, the question was, the author of the book is Michael Nystrom. Michael Nystrom. Nystr, whatever. OE. I can show you his picture. You got it?
It is on. The question was, is the MDT using Vim files? Yes, it do. It uses all the tools Microsoft bring to you to deploy Windows in a suite. They're using Wake. They're using, I don't know the name of all the tools. Okay, sorry.
I didn't know he had to block the deployment bunny.
It's www.deploymentgurus.com, I think.
Yeah, whatever. You find them, Google search, Bing searches for it also.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
More than how many? 6 or 16?
Well,
6.
More than 6.
I think
Whatever.
the time you need to implement an MDT is 1 to 2 days, depending on the applications you want to deploy also to the OS. You need 2 hours to install MDT, perhaps 2 hours to implement the Windows 8 deployment, and then the rest to figure out how to deploy the applications silently.
I'd say in the interest of time, whomever's interested, buy a beer for Eamon later, and he'll talk to you about that. He's done that a couple of times to our customers already.
So we have a forced server installed on that to using SQL and applications with Windows Server 2008. And then we had, for a pretty old 16-bit application, the ability to use a 2008.
Can you believe that 16-bit?
Yeah.
We were like, what are you using? That's Windows 3 point something.
We have to use a 32-bit server. So we install it, virtualized on this machine. And also test environment server for them to test the environment.
They have applications on their own for their identity cards and for their printers and stuff. So they have a test environment that they use for that as a virtualized machine now.
And also we virtualized this Windows 7 machine for
Right.
this UPS
Yeah.
world chip.
Unfortunately enough,
Blah.
UPS doesn't support a real server operating system to be their world chip server, so you need to have a client OS, and that's why we took Windows 7 on it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, this was.
Next.
Next is, I think all these parts.
Step back one slide, please. So that's the next one is actually going to be us. Hosted Essentials 2012 in a remote data center and hosted Exchange. So we decided to actually move our own deployment from our on-premise huge ass Hyper-V cluster that we run in our office. We move off that to our same lookalike huge ass Hyper-V cluster in our data center and become hosted totally, because we are just 5 people in the company, right? 5 people, I don't know, 7, 8 laptops, and a couple of servers. We are we were having more servers than users in our company for however long. And so we decided to move everything of our server hardware in the office to actually be able to get this server, this Hyper-V cluster hardware that we run in our office to our data center location to be even more redundant over there and be able to use that hosted, because there's no point for us, except for some files like ISO and stuff that we might want to have local, because they're streamed on not very easily over a 16 megs line. And we decided to move hosted totally and just have something like a microserver or similar in our office for file shares. That's basically the scenario we are going to. So I don't want to see any more server hardware except for 1 or 2 microservers in our office pretty soon. Although the cluster does make a pretty good heating device. Question? Oh, no, 5 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so so we are moving to that. I already told you about that. It's hosted Essentials. So that's going to be a virtual machine in our data center where we are the hoster ourselves. So, but think of it as, we are a customer and the hoster has that virtual machine running there. We are going to have, and I color-coded this here, so everything blue in here is going to be a hosted virtual machine, and green is going to be an on-premise virtual machine running in our an on-premise server, physical server most likely, running in our office. So we plan to have a terminal server running in the data center for our line of business application that is kind of not streaming down so well about a small internet line. Our Exchange stuff is going to be hosted. We drive that server anyways. Why not use it? And also we're going to have for the line of business application and for some other stuff we are using, we're going to drive an SQL server 2012. And that would be hosted also because I connect quite often from remote, like here from the US, to that environment. And I struggle a lot with that just 1 megabit upstream line that I got from our office back at home. Because you know what, we're just here in the US driving around. We bought that 4G hotspot. And with that, we drove to here. Some of you might not have known that we drove here with those 2 Finnish guys over there from Atlanta to Cincinnati to Denver to the Grand Canyon to Las Vegas. Thank you. And then after this show, we're going to drive to San Francisco and fly out from there, and with a stop to the Death Valley in between. And actually, we had a better internet connection in the car during that trip than we have in our office at home. Well, at least if there's 4G coverage, which was not always the place. But you know what? We were driving in the car on the interstate, and 3 of us were typing on the laptop while one guy was driving. That was pretty cool. So, and yeah, so I want to have a more powerful upstream line, which we have in our data center. Our data center, as I said before, has a multi-gigabit upstream, and so whatever connection I would have in the US or anywhere I travel, I would not be able pretty soon, at least, would not be able to overload that connection, but would be able to get a 50 megs downstream from our data center pretty soon as we move to hosted. And you know what? I believe that other customers would also appreciate that, right? If they want access remotely to their files, I think that the hosted solution is pretty nice option for those road warrior companies. Cool. So what else? Right, yeah. Don't wait till it's too late. Big Ben, London. SMB MVP tour last year. So don't wait till it's too late. Go ahead. Try the stuff yourself. Make it happen. Because if you're not, your competitors are. Want to talk to us? As I said before, buy us a beer. SEC Red Hot Chili Peppers concert in Germany lately, they rock. And other than that, any questions? And by the way, this guy is Michael Nystrom. And his name is right here. There's been a picture in Vegas, like I believe that's been 2009, where Michael and me did a EBS presentation, and yeah, we decided to name us the Unshaved Wizards of Essential Business Server. Question?
Is RWA included with Essentials 2012?
RWA, yes. The question is if RWA, Remote Web Access, is included with Essentials 2012. Yes, it is. And because we have another 30 seconds, I would be able to show that to you. Because you asked. This is RWA. It looks a little different. Whoops. If you are able to type the password correct. Looks like this is correct. Yeah. So this is how the RWA looks today. It is not changed so much, but on the color scheme, which means that, for example, add-ins that are used to work with Essentials 2011 still work here. For example, our Wake on LAN stuff that some of you know, it still works. Although it's a 2011 version, it still works in 2012. And you can still do stuff like connect to the computers using remote desktop. You can connect to shared folders and stuff like that. Pretty much the same as in 2011. And it has a tablet view, which just makes it smaller. OK, next question. Anyone? Sure. You again.
Is there supposed to be a service pack exchange in 2010 to allow it to run on 2012 servers?
Yes, the question is if there's going to be a service pack for Exchange 2010 to allow it to run on Server 2012. Yes, there is. I believe it's Service Pack 3, and it's announced to come out somehow in the first 3 months of next year, I believe. I see. Good. Any more questions? Yes, why not? You should buy us a couple of beers later, right? Nice. Can you say that again louder?
End of life for SBS 11 was 2010. Has that changed?
The end of life of SBS?
End of life is not changed.
No, end of life has not changed at all. Okay. Good. More questions? Yes, please.
Storage space, that new feature. I mean, we'll be doing, reading all these articles, you could do away with doing RAID and just do storage space.
Well, storage, the question is if storage spaces is also included in Essentials.
I know it is, but what are your thoughts on that? Are you still building Essentials with RAID? Or?
No. The question was if I would build my storage based on storage spaces, the new feature in 2012, the answer is totally yes. I would do so. Because storage spaces gives you so much more flexibility than traditional RAID does. You can, for example, just punch in another drive. If your storage runs out of capacity, you just punch in another drive, and that drive you can instantly add to the storage that you have. I would not do anything else anymore, except if you are able to buy a very expensive RAID controller or something like a SAN. But even then, you could And I've seen people doing that using a SAN. I know, I got questions. Questions. Sorry. One more question. Oh, food. Oh, sorry. Good. So I'd say yes. Thank you, folks. War doch okay. Doch, das war super.
So, just disable RAID on the motherboard, don't even buy a server with a RAID controller, just...
Yeah, like a microserver.
Specify the number.
The sun shines bright as it moves across my face. I feel the light and everything is in its place. Oh, I woke up feeling